Stand by for the software transmission. You better start your recorders now. Goodbye, and see you next week for...
In the early 1980s, Britain was seized by a moral panic. Newspapers warned of depraved children, corrupted minds, and a generation raised on violence. The culprit, they claimed, wasn't crime, poverty, or politics. It was cheap horror films on VHS. These films were labelled video nasties, low-budget exploitation movies accused of poisoning British society. Titles like Cannibal Holocaust, Driller Killer, and I Spit on Your Grave were blamed for everything from antisocial behaviour to moral collapse. But the panic over video nasties wasn't really about violent films at all. It was about fear. Fear of cultural change, fear of technology, and fear of losing control. To understand this stereo, we need to understand the moment. VHS was new. For the first time, films could be watched privately, repeatedly, and without regulation. Cinema had age restrictions and local oversight. VHS had none. Video shops popped up everywhere, often in working class neighbourhoods, offering lurid box art and unregulated content. Many of these films weren't even especially popular, but their covers were shocking. Graphic violence, sexual imagery, and taboo themes. Crucially, they were visible, sitting on shelves where anyone might see them. The panic escalated quickly. Tabloids ran sensational headlines claiming children were renting sadistic horror films and becoming desensitised to violence. Police seized tapes, directors were prosecuted, entire lists of banned films circulated like contraband. But there was little evidence that these films caused real-world harm.
We do not accept that there is a conclusive argument that the problems in our society can be simply cured by preventing the majority of households in the United Kingdom from being able to see 15 and 18 classified programmes.
The fire was stoked by prominent faces of the video nasty era, such as Mary Whitehouse, who feared technology was overstepping itself, and Mann was incapable of arresting the forces that had been released.
I have never seen a video nasty. I wouldn't. I have far too much.
But how can you judge on a video nasty? You've never seen one.
As well as Conservative MP Graham Bright, who, well, I'll let him speak for himself.
Will show that these films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
So why did the reaction become so extreme? The answer lies in the idea of moral panic. When a society exaggerates a perceived threat to reinforce social boundaries, video nasties became a convenient symbol for wider anxieties about youth culture. The late 1970s and early 1980s were a period of upheaval in Britain. Economic decline, unemployment, the breakdown of traditional industries, and rising youth subcultures that rejected established norms. Young people were already viewed with suspicion. Horror films simply gave that suspicion a tangible enemy. The idea that children were consuming violent media unsupervised tapped into fears that parental authority, and by extension, social order, was slipping away. Blaming VHS tapes was easier than confronting deeper social problems.
In our societies, we don't believe in constraining the media, still less in censorship.
Just as important as the content was the technology itself. VHS disrupted existing systems of control. Authorities couldn't monitor what people watched in their homes. The private space of the living room became a site of anxiety, especially when that space included children. This wasn't the first time new media caused panic. Novels, comic books, television, and video games all triggered similar reactions when they first emerged. What made VHS different was its intimacy. Horror was no longer contained to cinemas or late-night TV. It could be paused, replayed, and watched alone. That loss of gatekeeping terrified institutions built on regulation. The fear wasn't just what people were watching, it was that authorities no longer had the power to decide. The video nasty panic also aligned neatly with political interests. The Conservative government positioned itself as a defender of family values. During a time of social fragmentation, the 1984 Video Recordings Act allowed the state to regulate home video for the first time, a major expansion of censorship powers. Ironically, many of the films targeted were obscure and artistically marginal. Meanwhile, mainstream violence in news media, war coverage, and popular cinema went largely unchallenged. Censorship wasn't about reducing harm, it was about asserting authority.
And they needed something where they could stand as the moral stalwarts.
Looking back, the video nasty panic reveals something crucial. Censorship often tells us more about the fears of a society than about the media it seeks to control. The hysteria wasn't caused by horror films turning viewers violent, it was a reaction to rapid cultural change, to new technology, shifting youth identities, and the erosion of traditional power structures. In the end, the real horror wasn't on the tapes, it was the fear of losing control over a changing world.